Welcome, beautiful, to our very first live stream. I'm Michelle Rose. I'm a dedicated life coach to midlife women just like you, and I am thrilled to be here with all of you today. I had a little bit of difficulty with getting this to post live into Facebook, so I will be posting this here very soon. But I just wanted to talk for a minute because speaking with all of you has been a dream and a passion of mine. you know, I want all of you to fall in love with the woman in the mirror. And having been a self critic myself, who has had to go through the long, arduous journey of trying to learn what it means to fall in love and embrace the beauty in the mirror, I understand the power that self-love has and how it can enable you to be able to show up confidently in your life and how you can then show up authentically. And so what I mean by that is how many of you have seen a woman in your life who gets a new haircut, a new lipstick, a new outfit, whatever it is, and for about a week or two, or however long it lasts, all of a sudden you see the real woman that she is. She shows up with confidence and authenticity. And that is what I'm talking about. So I'm here to help you because truly we can't always all go out and get a new outfit or get a new haircut, although I love it when I get a new haircut. I'm just passionate about helping all of you look and feel your best and show up authentically in your lives full of confidence so that you could be living true to yourselves. And so, on this live stream in the future episodes, we're going to be talking mindsets, family, hormones, diets, nutrition, fitness, exercising your face. We're just going to cover so many topics. Nothing is going to be left off the table. Okay. But today, we're going to be talking about how to discover what self-love is in midlife and how to discover it without feeling selfish. So first, I have to ask, why is self-love so elusive and hard for us to discover in midlife? You know, and this is a topic that we're going to get into today because this is so near and dear to my heart, and it really is the foundation of growth and fulfillment in our lives. Just like I said, it's kind of that springboard that allows us to show up true to ourselves, and everything else follows suit after that. So by the end of this live stream, I hope that you'll gain a deeper understanding of what self-love is, what it means, why it's so crucial for you in this stage of midlife, and how faith can actually be a great partner to enhance this journey towards embracing the true beauty in the mirror. So, in this episode, if you're curious, if you're in the right place, I want you to know that every midlife woman who feels disconnected from her life, from herself, if you have any yearning for more, and if you doubt your beauty or anything about where you're at and who you are, this is where you belong. Okay, so stay tuned because we're about to uncover some transformative insights that really could change the way you see yourself moving on in the future forever. Okay, so let's start. What is self love and why is it essential for a fulfilling life? And here's the sad part. Many of us, we find ourselves in that weird, awkward stage right now. We're no longer young. We're no longer old. I mean, we're not yet old. And we may have finished taking care and raising our kids. And we may be in that small window where we have yet to start taking care of our parents. And but when it all comes down to it, what I just described is a woman who's constantly giving to others, helping others, and then in the end, at the end of the day, having neglected all of her own needs. And if you feel that, please comment right there. That's me, right? And this can lead to a life full of sadness, grief. I mean, gosh, grief. Many of us just find ourselves in a place of wishing for something different than what we ended up with, or just losing hope on what is ahead. And it can lead to so much emptiness and frustration. And it's really heartbreaking for me to watch, because having been in a place where I was pouring out in my lifetime from an empty cup, we can always feel like we're never enough, that we're less than. And it's so easy to look at another woman at the grocery store or at church and just compare ourselves and feel like we'll never amount to that, right? And that's what is a lie from the devil. So keep that in mind. But if you're wanting some great resources on, I'm a reader. I love reading. And so if you're anything like me, there's so many great resources out there. And one of my favorites on this particular topic is Brene Brown. She talks from that her own personal struggle and with self-worth and just how she had to transform things and discover self-love for herself and how it authentically allows her to show up in life. Another one to go deep down on this topic with is Joyce Meyer. She does the same thing. She talks about the war on our mind and how it really affects how we show up for ourselves in this area of self-love. So what I want you to do right now is reflect on your own experiences. How have you put yourself first? Or how have you put yourself last? And how does that actually make you feel? Because thinking through how does it make you feel, it will let you get in touch with that place where you were feeling emptiness and sadness and grief and all of those things. And it allows you, once you can identify it, to have something to take to the Lord when you go to him in prayer. But I do want you to maybe come to the realization that all of that neglect, it's not really working for you. And it really does. It leads to burnout and dissatisfaction. And I've been there because and I won't, this isn't the episode to get into it, but I have had health conditions where adrenal fatigue and a crash and burn cycle was literally taking me to my grave so much faster and sooner just because of the word burnout. Okay. And I don't want that for you. And self-neglect, it hasn't worked for you in the past. It won't work for you in the future. So that's what this episode is all about. I want to help you learn how to put yourself in a situation where you're not neglecting yourself anymore. You can show up confidently, you can show up authentically and start living your life with joy, purpose, and excitement. Okay. And so this is the thing that we have to really find out first, though, because if we feel guilty, we'll always end up putting ourselves last. And I want you to know that self-love, it is not selfish. Remember, they always tell you on the plane, I know you hear this over and over, and it's the mantra that when people told me when I was neglecting myself, I was like, yeah, I get it. I'll put the mask on first and then, then help someone else out. But that's not how I lived my life. Right? And it's really essential to learn that this is not a selfish act. The Bible tells us that we are to love others as we love ourselves. And so if you can't love yourself, guess what that means? You actually can't show up for others and love them very well either. Yikes, right? And so here we have fallen on our sword to take care of others. And what does this actually mean? It means we're not actually serving them well or loving them well if we can't start with ourselves. And so I want you to see that self-love, it just means recognizing your worth, treating yourself with the same kindness and the same respect that you show to others. Okay. So what are some actionable things that you can do starting this week? Because practice makes perfect. And here's the thing. When we start practicing, it's going to be awkward and we're going to be new at it. And I want to give you permission to show up as a new person at this practice. And it's okay if you mess up. It's okay if you forget at the end of the day. You are new at it, but practice does make perfect, and you will end up in a position very soon that is a person who does show up authentically and confidently because you're doing the practice. Okay. So, what's one thing you can do? You can start the day looking yourself in the mirror and say kind things to yourself. Start with the things that actually feel true to you, right? So, like for me, I might look at myself and go, "You've got some great hair, right? I really like your hair." Start with something that you actually believe. But if you don't want to start there, look at scripture and see what it says about you. Okay? Because here's the truth: you were made in the image of God, which means it doesn't get more beautiful than that. From the day you were born to the day you will pass away, you will be no more or no less beautiful than being in the image of Christ. Okay, so here's an example of something you could say to yourself in the mirror. I am worthy of love and respect. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And what you can do with that is if you're finding resistance from your mind, which some of you will, and I almost guarantee all of you will, is to continually practice, continually say it. And here's why I say that. There's only one way for something to get into your heart, and that's through seeing it and hearing it. And so when you physically speak something out of your mouth, you are hearing it. So if you want to also do double time to get it inside of your heart sooner, write it on a post-it note and put it in front of the mirror. And then as you're seeing it and you're reading it and hearing it, you're getting all that extra benefit. Okay. So that's one thing you can do. And this next one, it's going to be hard for some of you because you're just not in practice of it. And here's one really great thing. You can take this wonderful tool and make it work for you and set an alarm to do it. But some of you will be able to dedicate 10 minutes. Some will be able to dedicate 5, some 1, some 30 seconds. And I'm just asking you to do what you can. And what I want you to do is set an alarm and dedicate that amount of time that you give yourself to a self-care activity. Whether it's reading a book without feeling guilty of what is happening around you and who needs you, maybe breathing and getting oxygen to your brain so you can have clarity in mind. Maybe it's taking a relaxing bath, but whatever it is, take the amount of time that you have and go do something for yourself. Try at least once a day, okay? All right, and here's another one. This one's going to be super hard, but it is worthy of mentioning, and we will have another episode completely, I'm sure, dedicated to this one. But set boundaries, and what I mean by that is I'm not talking about being rude and cutting off the people you love. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about learning how to say no to the things that drain your energy, prioritize your needs and your well-being. And what that might look like is if you're being interrupted by someone you love, you might just have to say, "Hey, listen, what you have to say is important to me. And so if you'll give me 10 minutes to finish this task, come back if you haven't finished dealing with it or if you still need help, and we'll work on it together." How amazing is that, right? Because you get to show up for the person you love, but you also got to show up for yourself, right? And how many of us actually we stop right what we're doing, we put it aside, then we go help that person, and at the end of the day, none of the stuff on our list got done and everything on their list got done, and who's left with the guilt, shame, and disappointment then, right? But it's so easy to get into the practice of, "Hey, listen, what I want to help you. Give me a few minutes and let's do this." Okay. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to imagine waking up each day feeling fulfilled because at the end of the day, you actually took care of yourself. So when you went to bed, there's no guilt, no shame, no grief, no heaviness. And then when you wake up, you show up in a place that you're even more able to step into success and say, "I am worthy of love and care." So those things I just told you, they're just the first step towards what that might look like, making that a reality, you know? And so now that we know what self-love is, I give you a couple of places to go look for deeper information on it. Let's explore why it's so crucial for us in this season of our life and midlife. Okay. Because actually, if you've ever felt like you ran on low, constantly gave up on your dreams, taking care of everybody else, make a comment below. Like, just let us all know, because we need to all know that we're not the only crazy one in this world living our life this way. Because it's so easy on social media to look at somebody else and think that they're doing it different. Okay. So take a minute, comment. I just spilled that. Okay. Now, why is self-love crucial for midlife women? And how can it help you navigate all the new challenges that you're facing in midlife? I need you just to give me a quick minute, and I'm going to show you why self-love is the key and the foundation to unlocking your fullest potential. And it is the very thing, like I said before, when a woman is able to feel good about themselves, it's astounding how different we show up in the world for the people around us. Right? And so that's why this is such a key, foundational, important thing for us to learn. And because midlife, it brings us in a whole new wave of new challenges, things that we've never experienced before. Empty nest. I'm in the first of my friends because we had children early. So I'm the first of my friends to go through empty nest. I didn't have anybody who was willing to talk to me about all the heart things and the thoughts and how challenging it would be. I just was dreamy about it, and then I stepped into it, and it was like, I have no clue, right? And oftentimes parents are going through midlife women are going through career changes at this point. If you got divorced or whatever, and so our identities, they're just shifting. Hormones, golly, it is night and day what you've been experiencing to what you're going to experience. And we need to be there for each other through this change. Everything's changing. And so all of our self care needs to change with it. The things that we were doing before, they're not going to work now. And the things after midlife, the things that you learned that work in midlife, you're going to have to even learn again something different then. But here, we're going to be here to help you get through this season, because you don't have to go through this season feeling lost and undervalued. You know, it's so frustrating to feel like you're lost, your sense of purpose and your direction. Where is it, right? Because if you lived a life like me, I was a stay-at-home mom. My sense of purpose was to show up for my girls in every fashion. So all of my friends were some fashion or form connected to my girls in a way, right? So their friends, I was friends with their mom, and we did activities together that way, Girl Scouts and all this stuff. And then when I don't have that, who am I? Who are my friends? What activities am I going to get involved in? Right? There's just this sense of loss in direction just for a split second that you can easily, quickly get back on track and figure it out. But there is a history full of women who have gone through a deep sense of personal loss and feeling lost in their life, who triumphed through reconnecting with themselves and finding that inner strength and finding a way to have self-love for themselves and got onto the other side of it. And that's what I want for you. I want you to discover who that woman is in this next season. And I want you to be able to walk in that strongly with purpose. Okay. I forget exactly how she said it, but Dolly Parton, she said, "Find out who you are and go do it on purpose." Right? It's like, that's what I want for you in this season. Your life ain't over yet, girl. So if you feel like you've been going through the motions and you're unsure of where you're headed, that's okay, because we're going to help you with that. But neglecting your needs and your desires, they've not been serving you this far. And it is time for change. And that's what you're going to need to be willing to cut loose from to be able to walk into this next season with that strength and purpose. So, Embracing self-love is going to be a good foundational place to start. And it amazingly, it will bring clarity. It'll help you navigate those transitions with grace and confidence, and it will empower you to reclaim that identity and purpose. Because purpose, it's this weird ambiguous word. And again, we'll talk more about this in another episode, but it is nothing. When Dolly said, find out who you are and do it on purpose, that's what we're trying to do. Your life of purpose is not some ambiguous weird thing you got to go hunt and find, and it's lost until you find it. It's not this weird little treasure. It literally is you showing up in your life as you. That's your purpose. Okay. So here's a few things that you can walk with today to practice. Okay. And this first one, it can be a little bit of a scary word, but journaling. For people who are not journalers, here's a simple way to start. What I want you to do is I want you to journal about your feelings for that day and the experiences you had for that day. Simple, right? You're just making a list. Women are great at making lists. And what this is going to do for you is you'll go back and read through the day and how you felt about it. And it actually might bring clarity in a way that you're like, wow, I didn't know I thought about that way. I actually didn't know that I hate doing that activity. Why do I do that activity? Why do I promise them that I'm going to do this? Right? Or you might look at something and go, I never knew that playing pickleball would be so much fun. I'm going to try to do this some more, right? It will help you reconnect with your purpose. How are you going to show up the most like you today? Okay. Another one, talking about reconnecting with your passions, revisiting hobbies and activities that you used to love is a good place to start, because oftentimes we put them to the side and they collect dust. But, there's a time to jump back in and find out if this next season, if you love it as much as you did before. I used to quilt and I loved it. I haven't touched sewing in ages. So it's one of those hobbies that I'm going to introduce back into the season of my life, between being on the road, and see if I still love it. And it's okay if I don't, right? But what you need to do, this is the key, is to schedule a few minutes each week to engage in activities that will help you reconnect with those passions. A few activities that might help you connect with new joys, new things. And, there was a season of my life where my daughters were wanting to learn how to knit and crochet. And so we took them and I learned right along with them. And I discovered, you know what? I don't love it as much, but I loved that they did. So I still engaged in the activity, because that's what brought me joy. So find out what part of the activity brings you joy, even, because you may find that you don't love quilting, but you love being in a room full of other women doing the old time quilting bee activity where you're just chit chatting with the women while you're quilting. Okay. That's just a silly example, and then, speaking of community, the next one is seek out community. Join a group, join a community, whether it's at church, a women's Bible study, a book club, our Facebook group, but just get in there and start being authentic. Connect with the women in your world. You'll be amazed that when someone takes that first step of authenticity, how many other people come out of the closet and out of the woodworks and they're like, oh, me too. I didn't know that was the only one. And the world needs more support for women like that. So go out and be that, go out and join it. If you're not courageous enough yet to start it, but get into our Facebook group and just start commenting. If you want to start by listing out your feelings and your experiences for the day and what realization came from that, we can celebrate with you in how you even took that step, right? But I need you right now to envision a future where you face each day with that renewed strength and clarity, because you took the moment to re-engage with your passions, your purposes, your joys, and you ended up grounding yourself in a way that showed love, self-love for yourself, right? Because the journey starts today. If you don't start today, it may never happen. And I promise you, on the other side of this, you will fall in love with yourself. You're going to fall in love with the woman in the mirror. And that's what I am here to help you do, because I love and adore seeing women love the person who's in the mirror. So let's go ahead now and start moving into talking about how our faith can support and enhance this journey of self-love. But if you've been feeling and experiencing these major life transitions that we were talking about, struggling to find your footing, go ahead and leave a comment about the number one biggest struggle that you're experiencing, because I am working on so I have the next 3 weeks after this scheduled out, but I'm working on what the next topic will be. So go ahead and make a comment on what is your biggest challenge, and we'll talk about it, because nothing is off the table. Okay. I want to help you navigate these transitions. And, when the water rises for one, it rises for all of us. And so your testimonies and your experiences is going to help me. I'm going to help you. We're going to have a really great time in here. Okay. So how does faith play a role in self-love? The word self-love can feel like a curse word sometimes. And, it's something we often feel guilty about. It feels like that means we have to be mean to other people. And the truth of it is, our faith can be a very great catalyst, enhancing our self-love and our self-worth, and helping us fall in love with the woman in the mirror, you know? And so give me 5 minutes. We're going to transform your view and your perception of this, because here's what I would tell you exactly about self-love and faith. Okay. You are created in his image, and it doesn't get more beautiful than that. So from day one, you were beautiful. To the day you pass, you are beautiful. It doesn't get any more beautiful than that. You are created in his image. And that's if we come from that as our foundation, how could that fundamentally change the way we think about ourselves? Many of us struggle seeing ourselves as beautiful and worthy of love. And it's our deepest desire as a woman is to feel loved, feel accepted, be embraced by the people around us, feel valuable to them, And despite knowing that we're beautiful because we're created in his image, sometimes it's the heart knowing that needs to have that shift. And it's such a painful place to be disconnected from this truth. And we, as women, it's so easy because the standards are always being changed. It's always being the carrot's always moving, right? And so today red's the color, tomorrow blue's the color, short hair, long hair, makeup, no makeup. It's like, what is, we just battle these feelings of inadequacy. It can feel daunting and mind-boggling just to keep up with all the standards. But what if, instead of chasing all those things, you come from that place of knowing you're beautiful because you're made in his image, and then you just get to show up the way you show up best for yourself, and that is authentically. So I may go, and this isn't true, but I may go, I don't like the color red, so I'm just not going to give myself the pressure to wear that today, because I don't care that the rest of the world looks great in it. Good for them. Blue is my favorite color. I feel fantastic in that color. And every time I wear that color, I show up for myself. So today, that's the color I'm going to wear. Right? Like, how amazing is that to be able to come from that place instead of that place of just constant comparing and feeling inadequate, feeling like you could never measure up, feeling like, you know, I got to chase down this next diet because I gained 5 pounds. You can't be more beautiful today than you were yesterday or tomorrow because you were made in his image. So with wrinkles, with 5 pounds of extra weight, you know, you're beautiful. And if you can show up authentically, I mean, man, a woman who shows up authentically with a smile on her face, she is hard to fall in love with, right? It's hard to be in the presence of that person and not like them. We want to be like them. So, there's again a history of people that you could go and read about or follow on Instagram but there are people out there who have broken free, you know, found freedom in letting that perception go that they have to always measure up. And then they put themselves in this place of courage to just show up as themselves. And it does take courage. I will say that, because you have to look at the people in the room with you and go, how are they going to respond when they find out that I don't like drinking soda and they all drink soda? Like, are they going to ostracize me because I don't like drinking soda? And again, I know that's like a silly example, but that's how we think as women. And I want to ask you, in fact, I want you to comment below. How often do you stop and remind yourself that you are a beautiful creation created in the image of God? Is it daily? Is it never? Is it once a week, once a month, once in a lifetime? And then when you comment that, how does that knowledge or lack thereof affect how you're showing up in your life? I want to hear that too, because I want to be able to help you. The showing up with self-doubt, and it's not helping us honor ourselves or the divine creator that we're made in his image, right? It's time that we truly embrace ourselves, because it is truly a reflection of how we embrace Christ. And that's the sad truth of it. It really, and it makes me just sad to think that I spent all those years not honoring the Lord because I couldn't even love myself. And I still struggle with it. I mean, we all do, right? But it's a daily practice, and by integrating our faith and using our faith as part of the journey of our self-love, we can see ourselves through God's eyes. We can see that we're cherished, that you're valuable, that you're made beautifully. And so what are some things that you can tangibly practice? Because practice makes perfect. And sometimes our muscles are weak in certain areas. And the way you get those muscles stronger is you practice. Okay. So again, no pressure to be perfect. I'm actually giving you permission to fail. But what I want you to do is just practice. I want you to give yourself permission to be new at this and to have curiosity about what the outcome can maybe be. Okay. So one of the ways you could practice this week is through scripture reading. There's so much truth in the Bible, and one scripture you can start with right now is Psalm 139:14, and it says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay. And if you want to get in front of the mirror and say that daily, just to remind yourself, eventually your brain will stop resisting. It'll work its way to your heart and you'll start believing. And once you believe, you will respond and act completely differently. Another thing you can practice is spend a few minutes each day in prayer and meditation. And that's going to look completely different for every one of you. And so I recognize we all have different practices. And so what that might look like is buying a devotional book that gives you 3 minutes of just reading a story and reading some scripture, having a prayer at the end, For some of you, it's going to mean reading the Bible and praying in your own prayer closet. But the key here is to spend a few minutes each day with the person that you're created in their image and hearing straight from their mouth, straight from the horse's mouth, right? Because it's so easy to have all these lies infiltrated throughout the day. And let's just go straight to the source. Another thing, and I've created a resource for you. I'll post it into the group, but faith-based affirmations, a list of affirmations that are based on scripture. If you take one a day or one a week and you just get in front of that mirror, because it's so important to get in front of the mirror to say this. There was a time in my life where I didn't value myself. I spent over $1,200 to attend a conference with a few other women at my church. And I was having a really hard time with having spent that much money. And there was a certain point in time in the event where you got to walk out and get all your money refunded, no questions asked, and I was battling with doing that. And one person said to me, "This is not like you, that you're responding this way. Maybe go spend time with the Lord and find out why you're feeling this way." And I went to my hotel room, and thankfully my roommate wasn't in there, but I realized I don't value myself to have spent this $1,200. Now, the information was phenomenal, and I decided to stay because I stood in front of the mirror and I said, "You were worthy of $1,200. You are valuable, worth over $1,200. This information is going to transform your life, and you are worthy of being able to have the opportunity for this transformation." It literally changed my life. And so there is going to be some things from that event that I will be infusing into some of our future sessions because it was so transformative. But I want you to picture right now walking in that unwavering confidence, the one that comes from knowing you are loved and you are valued by your creator and by those at least here in this live stream room, and that's the truth I want you to begin today walking out of. And as we wrap up today's session, let's go ahead and reflect on all the things we've learned, okay? And how all the tips and tricks and insights on how to apply these things in our lives. We talked about what is self-love and why you need it, why you need to make it a priority in this season of your life. And then how can you lean into your faith for the courage to walk it out without feeling guilt? So share in the comments below how your faith has influenced your journey so far for self-love, or how you hope it to help you on this journey with self-love. Let's support each other because your stories inspire each other, and it's so important. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're feeling inspired, ready to embrace your journey of self-love. Remember, you are worthy, you are beautiful, and you are created in the image of Christ. It doesn't get more beautiful than that. You don't get more beautiful than that. You are as beautiful as you can be. So stay tuned for next week's live stream. We're going to talk about overcoming negative self-talk. So mark your calendars, Wednesday, 1:30 Central time. Invite a friend. Have them join you on this. Hold each other accountable and get excited for each other for this journey. And until then, keep loving that woman in the mirror because you truly are amazing.